All right, my little Zoho underlings. To this point, you have learned enough that hopefully you're starting to understand how Zoho CRM works, what all the different apps do in Zoho, why a business might want to use it, what advantages they get. Hopefully, you're kind of starting to come into your own of realizing that, hey, this is a pretty expansive suite of tools that does some pretty cool stuff. Now, this course is really where we're going to put your mettle to the test. Zoho CRM is a super expansive, powerful app, and there's a ton of functionality that we haven't even scratched the surface on in our previous course. This is going to be your opportunity to explore new features that, if you are pretty good at them, if you can learn them and understand them and apply them with businesses, this is what's going to be the big moneymaker for you. So please pay particular attention in this course. I would maybe call this the most important course that I teach. Do your best, complete the assignments, and we'll see how you look at the end. The $1 million question, what is Zoho Desk exactly? So I'll tell the people that have already used tools like this just a ticketing platform similar to Zendesk. HubSpot has a similar solution. This is a ticketing platform that allows you to take customer inquiries from email, text, social media, web forms, build a knowledge base. Like, it's a pretty straightforward ticketing platform. Now, those of you that understand what that is, skip to the next video. Those of you that need a little bit more understanding of what all that means, I've built a nice little way to show you. So many of you are handling your customer support and customer communication through phone calls and text messages, oftentimes at smaller companies, like on your personal cell phone or maybe a single shared office phone. And then a lot of you do a lot on email. You just have everything in email. If you're really behind the times, then you have everything in each person's individual personal email inbox. Some of you may have built a shared email inbox, but there's a lot of problems there that I'm sure you've encountered. When all your customer interaction is scattered across all these different channels that not everyone has access to, it's hard to see what has been addressed and track, like, hey, have we followed up with these customers? It's hard to see what needs follow up and set goals, and hey, we have a goal to reach out and follow back up with people within 48 hours. Like, it's hard to know whether you're actually doing that and to do it. Especially, it's hard to see who's responsible for what. It's easy to say we want to follow up within 38 hours or 48 hours, but to actually do it and make it someone's job and track whether they're doing it, that doesn't happen in email inboxes or in texts that you receive to your phone or in phone calls that you get to your office phone, right? That's the value of a ticketing platform like Zoho Desk, is allowing you to take all of that chaos and consolidate it into one spot. As an example, you can see here, these are emails that Affluence Financial Planning has received with customers reaching out and asking for certain things, right? Help with my W-2 tax forms, need a quote, how do I create a new order, etc. And rather than this being in my personal inbox, this is in a spot where everyone on my team can see it and where we can track status to it, track timelines on when it's due, assign it to members of our team, mark it as closed so that we know that we don't need to worry about it, stuff like that. So that's the value ultimately of Zoho Desk. There's a lot of other really cool stuff to talk about, like auto ticket assignment, workflow automations, collaboration, commenting, kind of additional productivity benefits of having a shared workspace. But ultimately, for a lot of you that are wondering, like, what the heck is this and is it valuable? The way I often condense it is I say, what if all of the voicemails that go to your office phone were tracked in a tool that you could see whether something had been done with them? And in that same system, if you had a support@yourdomain.com email where everything could be concentrated into one box for people that email that email. And a lot of companies, especially as they start to scale, say that sounds really, really, really nice. So if that sounds like you, it's worth watching the next few videos to ask more questions about whether Zoho Desk even makes sense for you. Magic question number 1 to see whether Zoho Desk is overkill for you or whether it makes a lot of sense. What is your customer request and inquiry volume? If you barely have people reaching out to you, then you don't need a whole robust, scaled, automated ticketing platform to handle it. So what I tell people with inquiries is it really is kind of anyone that's outside of your company reaching out to make some sort of request of you, right? Are vendors requesting payment? Are you trying to arrange invoice payment details with your customers? Are people requesting quotes or to be put in touch with a salesperson? Are there a lot of support requests? The numbers that I've put here is call this number of inquiries by week, right? If you're getting under 5 new inquiries per week, then you probably will be fine with just a personal inbox. It's really likely that you're a pretty small company and that people aren't really reaching out that often. And it's not like things are really slipping through the cracks because there's not that much coming through. So I'd say stick with your email and maybe your cell phone and look at something like this when you scale a little bit more. That's where my company was maybe 3 years ago, right? Just call me, email me. It's not a big deal. When you hit around 20 people reaching out, there's a few things to think about. So 20 inquiries a week, stuff's going to start slipping through the cracks there. You need something. However, if the only inquiries are coming through email, it's not like there's social media or a lot of phone calls, it's just email, then you probably can make do with something a little less crazy, a little less robust than Zoho Desk. You can look at something like a shared inbox, like Zoho Team Inbox, and there's kind of other ways to manage that, right? So really where Zoho Desk makes the most sense, if you have multiple channels that inquiries are coming through, web forms and email and phone calls and multiple different emails, not just one support email, but 5 different emails that people are sending stuff to, as well as your finance team has requests and vendors keep requesting stuff, and there's more than 20 inquiries a week, Zoho Desk is absolutely worth exploring. Basically, you've graduated to the next video to ask more questions of whether this is overkill, but there's a good chance that you're at a volume this could make sense. I alluded to this in the last video, but I really want to hone in on it. Another way that Desk is extremely helpful and will probably work better for you than for others is if you are getting support requests from multiple places. So a few things to think about. Again, if you're just getting emailed, you don't have a phone, you don't have a central customer support line, you don't really use social media or get people engaging with you there, you don't have live chat on your website, you don't have web forms, like if you're not really getting people reaching out on a lot of these different channels, Zoho Team Inbox might work for you, or a shared Outlook inbox or something like that could totally work, right? However, if you start mixing all these different channels that people are pinging you on, Zoho Desk is tremendously helpful to aggregate all of that into a spot where you are able to keep track of all of it in one bucket, right? It doesn't matter if it came in via Twitter, Facebook, or live chat, or a web form or an email. It's all just a customer inquiry and it all belongs in Zoho Desk where you can track it. So that's how I propose you think about whether Desk makes sense if you have multiple channels that people are reaching out through. Question number 3, whether you should use Zoho Desk. Do you get the same exact questions over and over and over and over and over? If you don't, then in a lot of cases, you're having to type out custom responses or talk to people on the phone. Desk could still be useful depending on your answers to the previous 2 questions, but maybe less so. If you're getting the same questions over and over, Desk has a lot of tools to help you ameliorate that, right? First off, the capability of building a knowledge base to give your customers answers to those questions very, very, very easily, right? I really love this is Zoho's own knowledge base. They run their own knowledge base on Zoho Desk. I thought that was pretty cool. And you can see that they have lots of articles about what is Zoho Desk, how to use it, like this heads off questions that their customers are asking. It's questions they get all the time and they have a knowledge base to help answer them, right? Zoho Desk also has a lot of excellent tools. If you keep getting the same questions over and over and over, you can actually link to knowledge base articles really quickly in your responses. So you can very quickly click on a ticket and just paste it in, say, hey, here's a knowledge base article. So it makes it really fast to generate these emails. They also have really nice email templating features and snippets, which we'll talk about a little bit more later in the video. So if you get the same questions over and over and over, definitely worth using a more robust system that helps you answer those questions more quickly. I just want to put in a quick plug before you go too much further into the course. If you are already using Zendesk or Freshdesk, there absolutely is the ability to migrate a lot of that functionality without a ton of hassle. If you go to Settings, Data Administration, and Switch, which is kind of funny, not the best branded name, but whatever, especially because Zendesk has a Z too. So it's like I'm switching to Zoho from another Z. I don't know. I'll talk to the marketing team, but they can actually migrate your ticket data, and I've only used it once. It worked great. It was a couple years ago. You'll see, yeah, it's from Zendesk to Zoho Desk through APIs. So there is some work that you need to do within Zendesk, which they have the notes here. Freshdesk, there are notes here. I have seen this work well, and it can save you a lot of frustration. You should be careful if you've already set up Zoho CRM, like there's a world where there might be some data deduplication that's necessary. Like you don't want to import all this stuff into Zoho Desk and then have it propagate to Zoho CRM or something like that. So that's something to talk about with your Zoho partner or with Zoho support, something to be cognizant of. But again, I have seen this work pretty well, and it can save you a lot of time and money. So there you go. The very first step in starting to use Zoho Desk is actually populating it with tickets, right? You need to feed different data sources from where your customer inquiries are coming into Zoho Desk to actually get these tickets to show up. So I will be showing you a few of the different places you can start hooking in to get emails to come through here to Zoho Desk. The first thing we'll review is the easiest one, and it's the one I find that most people like to start with, which is getting emails forwarded into Zoho Desk. This is really, really simple. Took me a second to understand it, so I think this will be a useful video for people that haven't ever worked with ticketing software like this. So if you go to Settings in Zoho Desk and go to Channels and Email, you will see a support email address. Now, the confusing thing for a lot of new users is they're like, oh, okay. So if I want to get emails into Desk, I need to give my clients the email support@demo2camberadynamics.zohodesk.com. Or it'll usually have your portal name .zohodesk.com. And you're like, that's kind of ugly. I thought I was going to get support@affluencefinancialplanning.com. Don't be worried. This is a very common mistake and a very common source of confusion, or people click this new support email address and don't worry about any of that. Just worry about using this default support address for now. What you are doing is you are creating an email forwarder from your actual mail server to forward all emails that come to support@theworkflowacademy.com, for instance, to forward those to this email address. Then once forwarded, anything that lands in this inbox, Zoho Desk will automatically say, oh, hey, that's a new ticket, and we'll create a ticket. So let's test it right now. We're going to copy paste this. And then this will differ on whether you use a custom mail server, G Suite, Outlook, Office 365. We use Zoho Mail as an example, but I'm just going to create, I can't do this in our demo system because it doesn't have a live mail server. So we're doing this live. So we're going to call this test support, and we're calling the group email address test support@theworkflowacademy.com. We'll say everyone can send emails to the group. Cool. And then under members, we're going to add members using an email address, copy this email address in, click add, and then create the group. That'll take a second. Okay, now that should be created. Test support@theworkflowacademy.com. And now I'm going to send an email message to it. And then in the next video, I'll show you whether that populates. Now you should have things set up properly so that emails are actually coming through from your support email. So now here's the trick. You can receive emails now at support@affluencefinancialplanning.com. Now you need to be able to send emails from support@affluencefinancialplanning.com. So next thing to think about, setting up the from emails. Just go to settings, emails, and it's right here. We were working on support email address. Now we're on from address. And again, you can see that it allows you to send from emails from this weird, freaky domain, which you don't want to do yet. You want to send it from your official support at email. So you can do new from address. Go ahead and do support at affluencefinancialplanning.com, something like that. Support, click save. And then you'll see it let me made that, even though this is not actually a domain that I own. And you'll see that in order to send from this, you will need to verify it. So let's talk about what that looks like. It's just sent an email to this email inbox that allows you to verify that, yes, Zoho Desk is authorized to handle and use this email as a from address. So pretty straightforward. I didn't actually receive this email. Funnily enough, you will receive this email in your Zoho Desk as a ticket, right? Because think of the flow. Support at affluencefinancialplanning.com is the email. When that email inbox, we just set it up in the last video so that every time that email inbox gets an email, it will forward that email to Zoho Desk. So you should have a new ticket in your Zoho Desk that says, hey, you're invited, come verify, right? So that's where you do that verification. In the next email, we'll talk about additional layers of email verification that are important to think about. So yeah. Okay, now that we've set up email, that is, again, people's first and often foremost place that new tickets come in from is from a support email. We're going to talk about all the other ways that tickets come in. Next up, we have web forms. There are a lot of ways of accomplishing this. I'm going to show you one of the simpler ways and then talk about some of the other ways it might happen. The simplest and most straightforward way to make a desk ticket show up in a web form is to go to Settings, Web Form, Advanced Web Form, create a web form, and then you can see we have a nice little drag and drop, email subject, and you can put in a description. This actually pulls directly from the fields that you have in your ticket layout. You also luckily can rename these labels. So you can say, describe your problem, mark it as required, whatever. And then this, when filled out, will actually submit a ticket to your Zoho Desk immediately. You can add in things like CAPTCHA and whatever. And then when you click next, you'll see it's asking you for where it's going to be embedded. Let's just say that's just a domain that I control. You can say who the owner is going to be assigned. And then I just want you to see this is now the embed code. So you can give this to your web developer. There's just an embeddable web form that can be stuck onto your website. So that is a simple way to get web forms input. Honestly, this web form builder is not my favorite. I don't even use it myself. We use either a Zoho form, which actually, I'll just show you an existing form rather than creating a new one. You can integrate Zoho forms with Zoho Desk. And it's very, very straightforward. You can go watch our Zoho Forms course if you'd like to learn more. Very straightforward and works pretty nicely. Creator forms can create desk tickets. We actually on our website use Gravity Forms. We have a few reasons for why we don't use Zoho Forms, but we use Gravity Forms and that pushes to a Zoho Desk ticket. Web Forms, creating Zoho Desk tickets, fairly straightforward. You have a lot of options there. You can have phone calls, inbound phone calls and voicemails create Zoho Desk tickets. Now, this is tricky. I can't actually demo a lot of this stuff for you because it's hard to set these things up in a demo environment, but I'll just quickly talk through it. It is absolutely possible to integrate your telephony provider with Zoho Desk so that A, you can place calls from within Zoho Desk. B, you will see inbound calls within Zoho Desk. And then C, voicemails and missed calls can create tickets that you can then follow up on. Honestly, we'll link to this picture. It's not incredibly straightforward, but most cloud phone providers have the ability to integrate with Zoho Desk through Zoho's telephony platform. So if this is something that's vital for you, you can go do your own research and reach out to us when you have questions, because we have implemented this and done this before. I'm sorry, I just can't really do it in a demo environment. Another channel that you can use that it's pretty awesome. Zoho does live chat pretty well. I'm actually really, really impressed with it. So Desk used to have its own chat widget. And then like a year ago, they realized, oh my gosh, we have Zoho Sales IQ, which is an excellent chat management platform that comes with Zoho One. Why the heck would we have our own weird Zoho Desk specific chat platform? And so now they've almost entirely integrated them together. So Sales IQ and Desk. If you do chat and Desk, you're just using Sales IQ. So I want to briefly walk through. I'm not going to go all the way through because there's a lot to think about with Zoho Sales IQ, but I'll just briefly walk through some things to think about. So you access this by going to Settings, Channels, and Chat. And you will see if you have a Zoho One account or Zoho Sales IQ enabled, this should be set up already. If you don't see some of these details, you may need to go to Zoho Sales IQ, go to Settings, Integrations, Zoho Desk, and make sure that this is active. In Zoho Desk, you can see some of these settings, right? There's a JavaScript embed to get Sales IQ to show up on your website, right? If you don't have it already, again, this is stuff to get off to your web developer. You can decide whether you want chat in your help center. We'll talk more about help center and customer portals in a second. You can associate agents to say who should be able to have access to chat. And there I just updated the settings to say everyone should be able to, but you can tweak that, right? And then it says advanced settings. And again, blessedly, it just pushes you straight to Sales IQ. It says, no, you don't control those here. You work in Sales IQ. Some other integrations or things you can look at in Sales IQ. You can decide which should be tickets. Are all chats tickets or missed chats tickets? Like what ends up getting created? And there's just a lot of settings that you have in here that you can tweak. Which department in Zoho Desk should things be mapped to? We'll talk about departments in a little bit. So yeah, there's a lot of things to consider with chat, and there's a lot bigger discussion in terms of setting up Zoho Sales IQ in general, regardless of how that pushes to Zoho Desk. But now you kind of understand some of the basic undergirding of how that looks. I've often seen this implemented best with just missed chats. Missed chats create tickets. You miss a chat, people leave their email, and then that creates a ticket, and you then have the opportunity to follow up. So things to think about. Next up, creating tickets from social media. This one is a little interesting. There's a lot of ways to think about it. I'm going to explain the most simple, straightforward method. And then from there, I'll have some more complicated ones. At a straightforward level, it's really, really nice to not have to go through and check your Instagram messages, your Facebook messages, your Twitter messages, your LinkedIn messages, to not have to check all those different discrete mailboxes, to just have it all feed into Zoho Desk and know that you only have to check Zoho Desk. And if Zoho Desk has a new ticket that says, hey, you have a message in Instagram, then you know to check Instagram, right? And it's really simple to set that up. All you do is on your business social media account, you set your notification email as support@affluencefinancialplanning.com, right? Because then that's an email. When message is sent, then you will receive an email into your Zoho Desk that will create a ticket and say, you have a new message in LinkedIn. So that's the easiest way to think about it. If that works for you, then skip the rest of the video. There are some other ways to look at it. A lot of this may require Zoho Social, and things just kind of get tricky. You can go into setup, go to social. Again, it works the most easy if you already have Zoho Social set up, and you can just import brands. If you don't, then you can create brands. Again, the only platforms that the following works for is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I wish it worked for LinkedIn. That's all I use. I can't do this in a demo environment, but I'll just kind of show you the thinking of what it looks like. You are able to then in Zoho Social to add tickets from mentions or posts or stuff like that. You can create them as tickets in Zoho Desk as a reminder, like, hey, this guy messaged us or tweeted at us. Go ahead and add it as a ticket, right? You also can set up certain keyword and trend monitors. If you hear something be mentioned, it can create a ticket. That seems kind of interesting. I thought that was kind of cool. These are more for companies where social media footprint is really, really important and you have lots of things happening. So something to think about. But ultimately, I think that the email notification path will work for most businesses that are kind of getting started with a ticketing platform. So there you go. The purpose of this video is to now blow the doors open and show you that there's pretty much literally no limit of how you can create tickets. I want to show you there's two concepts to this of creating tickets from anywhere. The first is using tools like Zoho Flow, Zapier, and Deluge functions. You and the Zoho Desk API, I should say. You can create a ticket from literally anywhere, right? Zoho Flow is a great example, right? Zoho Flow has a lot of examples of, hey, a new jot form entry got filled out, create a ticket in Zoho Desk, or a new refund occurred in Zoho Checkout, trigger that, or Trustpilot, hey, a new review happened, create that as a ticket. The opportunities are limitless. New ticket, send a notification to Slack. New ticket, add that subscriber to MailChimp. There's a million ways that you can work on integrating tickets to trigger from pretty much anything using a platform like Zoho Flow or Zapier. To build on that concept, anything that triggers an email can also create a Zoho Flow ticket. For instance, we use WordPress. Every time a new user subscribes to our WordPress courses like you did, right now we create a new ticket to say, hey, go follow up with this person, like see how life's going with them, right? Actually, they go to our CRM first and sometimes create a ticket, but I digress. When new orders are made on our website, or pretty much like a lot of notifications, new invoices or bills are received, that goes to our finance Zoho Desk. So there's anything that produces an email can create a ticket as well. The Desk API is very robust. It's pretty straightforward to build Desk Deluge functions as well. I will get a little bit more into that later in the course on how to trigger from Zoho Desk, but also if you have in Zoho CRM, you want to create a new ticket via Deluge function when a deal gets closed or something like that. There's pretty much limitless capabilities of when you want to create a ticket. The world is your oyster. Start planning on how you want to feed your system with tickets. Okay. Now that you've actually seen how tickets get created, you should have a much better concept of how Zoho Desk can be useful to you, right? You've categorized all the different places that these tickets can come in, and now you're ready to actually work on the tickets themselves, right? So let's talk about actually setting up Zoho Desk to work for you. First thing to consider, Zoho Desk is really similar to Zoho CRM in a lot of the ways that you should be thinking about it. So if you're not already familiar with Zoho CRM, I would definitely recommend taking those courses first and really internalizing how the CRM is structured. It will really help your understanding of how Zoho Desk should work. And they integrate together very, very tightly. And it's very important, I think, to run both in tandem. So something to consider. But let's assume that you feel pretty good and you're ready to get going. First thing we're going to talk about is getting agents into the system. Again, this works very, very similar to how things work in Zoho CRM. Agents are just users, right? Users in Zoho Desk have permissions, and you can see permissions are governed by profiles and roles, which here we are, permissions. Roles dictate who can see what tickets. If you are a CEO, then you are able to, again, this is exactly like CRM. So if you remember this from CRM, skip all this. If you don't, then you should go look at that and maybe watch this as well. If you are a CEO, it means you can see everyone's tickets. If you are a manager, you can't see tickets that are assigned to the CEO, but you can see tickets that are assigned to yourself and any roles subordinate to you. If you check this share data with peers, then you are able to see other managers' tickets. In my experience, most companies that roll out Zoho Desk doesn't really, well, unless you're a huge company and have multiple departments, but we'll talk about departments in a second. In my experience, I usually default at the beginning of rolling it out to just make everyone a CEO. That sounds counterintuitive, but in a lot of cases, this isn't super private information that you're trying to keep from other people. So I usually default to letting everyone see tickets, and then you can kind of iterate from there. Profiles is where you are able to actually change like permissions, and these are really straightforward, right? The ability to view, create, update, delete different records, sending emails, changing ownerships, leaving comments, stuff like that. A lot of admin privileges as well. So that is how you determine how you add agents and then what kind of capability you want them to have. In the next videos, we're going to be talking about how to actually put agents together into teams and departments and how to understand the structure so that things are more organized, so that people only see what they need to see. So look at that next video if you want to understand more about that. Let's talk about departments, teams, and agents, because there's a very important hierarchy for you to understand. Department is at the top level, and what I'm going to tell you isn't necessarily gospel. I've found people that use departments in different ways. It's just kind of beauty is in the eye of the beholder a little bit, of how you want to use a department. But this is how I understand departments and how I often deploy them. A department is where a discrete number of users are going to work in kind of their own separate environment with their own tickets coming in from their own sources. An example here would be product support. And then a separate department, in my estimation, should generally have different ticket sources and different users, other than maybe an administrator who can see everything. The example I give here is accounting. I've seen this done in a lot of companies, this actual exact setup. They have their customer support line with one setup, but then their accounting team has a small department in Zoho Desk, and that's where they handle vendor payments and refunds and stuff like that. So first concept is when to create separate departments. I would generally say on the side of caution in only building one department to start with and get used to Zoho Desk. So don't go, I've seen too many people go overboard with like starting with 8 departments. I often recommend when people are really first getting started with the idea of ticketing platforms, just start with a single department, get used to it, get used to ticket flow, team assignment, agent assignment, everything. And then as you get smarter, roll in additional teams and additional ticket sources and use cases. The concept of departments is that generally they are separated. There is not a total firewall. If one ticket ends up by mistake in one department and needs to be moved to another, that's totally doable. But there are frustrating downstream consequences if these cross over too much, where it would have been nicer to just have a single department. So that's why for my beginners here, I've mapped this out as discrete users, discrete teams, and discrete departments. So don't have overlap. If you get really, really good at Zoho Desk, there are a couple use cases I can think of where you would have overlap between departments, where maybe Agent 5 would be on both Team 3 in accounting as well as Team 2 in product support and stuff like that. But don't even worry about that. This is the intro to Zoho Desk, not advanced techniques. So now let's talk about the concept of teams. Teams are very, very straightforward, and I'll just show you. I think it's easier to show instead of tell. A team is when you want to be able to assign a ticket to a team of people rather than a single person. I think it's pretty easy for you to conceptualize why that would be useful. Someone might be on vacation. Sometimes you just want to give it to whoever picks it up first, and so both of them will get the notification, or both of them will see it show up in their workflow, I should say, and then whoever gets to it first, great, rather than a single person. Teams are very, very, very easy to set up. Agents, teams, you create a team and then you can add as many agents as you want. You also, I've never seen this done to great effect, but you can add in roles, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. And then you can also do team, like teams and sub teams, right? You could have the main team be a single team and then have the rest of a team. I don't know. You don't need to worry too much about that. And then departments, you go to settings under general. I will just briefly show you it's not that hard, that you have departments and you can associate agents to them. Again, be super careful about creating multiple departments. If I were you and this is your first rodeo, just stick with one department. You can always branch out later, but it's annoying when you start branched out and then have to consolidate later. It's just easier to start small and build from there. Okay, you have users, you have tickets. Now it's time to go through the basics of a kind of manual workflow of what you do when you're in Zoho Desk. You know me, we're going to automate a lot of this stuff in a second, but it's important to understand manually first how things work. So you have a new ticket. This person needs a quote. First thing you should think about is assignments. Who should be responsible for this ticket? Again, we will automatically assign things down the road, but for now, it's just a simple user dropdown, right? You're in your tickets view. Right now, you can see I'm in the table view, but you can do compact. There's a lot of different nice views. So you can see right here, just assigning owners, right? By default, this will notify people. This will notify Sergey Zalatovolos that he just signed a ticket. You can turn that off, obviously. If you get to a big flood of tickets, you don't want people getting an email every time they're assigned to something. And then the other thing that we want to look at is ticket statuses. Again, this can get really complicated and awesome, and you can think of really cool workflows. To start with, it's good to just think about open, on hold, meaning open, meaning no one's looked at it, right? On hold, which I don't know, can mean different things. Sometimes like the client needs to get back to you on something and it's their fault, but it's not closed yet, but whatever. Escalated is like, hey, you see that this is still red. It's still open. It's still like our responsibility to get back to them and they're waiting on us for something, but it's been escalated to someone else. So like we have done something with it, but it's still our fault. We need to hurry. And then closed. Oh, look at that green. Isn't that so nice? The ticket's closed. We're done with it. So that is often how you will kind of first encounter the most straightforward way of using Zoho Desk is keeping track of those statuses and assigning them to people so that they're then closing those statuses and you're working through those tickets and getting people taken care of. Okay, let's actually spend some time in a ticket. So this person needs a quote, right? Hey there, I spoke a few months ago with one of your financial planners, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. This person needs a quote. Let's actually spend the time. Well, let's first open it real fast. Okay, let's collaborate, right? Let's actually show you what tools you have available. First off, obviously you can reply via email. If you remember our from email addresses, this is where this is going to come into play. And it goes to this email. You can remove that auto CC. Other things you can do, I often find myself commenting, Sergey, can you please take a look at this? And then assign to it, I think they're your clients, whatever. Comment. Great. Commenting is excellent. You can, in putting together your replies, there's a lot of really cool tools that you can use. You can use a snippet. What is a snippet? Snippet is if you find yourself saying something over and over and over and over, maybe a sentence, then you can make it into a snippet. An example would be, we'd love to help you put a quote together. Let's hear a few things from you first. You can call that quote. This is for people like me that cannot suffer manual processes. And so you just do quote and then tab, and then it spits out that snippet. The next layer up from that is using a template. Let's say that a quote request is a full template. Why do that as a snippet when you can just have a full template that does everything? And you can go in and create a template similar to in Zoho CRM and have that associated to that ticket. And then your agents can just click template, insert the template, click send, right? The last thing that you can use, we'll talk a little bit about this at the end. You can, if you create a knowledge-based article, you can actually just copy that or paste that into the ticket, right? So if you have a good knowledge base, you can actually search the knowledge base directly from the product and then paste it right here into the ticket. So those are some of your tools that you have in working tickets. Now let's talk about how to get the right tickets in front of the right people. Right now, we only have 76 total tickets throughout all time, so it's not that big of a deal. But as you start to get bigger, you start to get a pretty good chunk of tickets. That's how we're going. I mean, when we first started, we maybe had like 10 tickets total at the first month, maybe. So this was really, really easy to monitor, and we just get an email notification. But when you start getting 20 tickets a day, you can't just trigger an email to my personal email every time I get a new ticket, right? I need a more robust workflow. Custom views really help with that. So if you look here, these are some of the custom views are accessible here on views as well as here. These are all the same things. And there's some really nice ones by default. My open tickets. These are things that are assigned to me that are open. But maybe you decide, hey, open is great, but what if they're escalated or on hold? Well, there's a my tickets, but my tickets doesn't have things that are escalated. So if I'm Debbie Money and I go into my tickets, oh, cool. Never mind. Oh, yes. Yes. Sorry. I'm being dumb. That has the escalated one, but now let's assign one and close it. And you'll see that the my tickets view also has closed tickets. Let's do the use case that I'm sure doesn't exist here in these default views. Let's do, I want to see all of my tickets that are either on hold or escalated or open that are overdue that aren't closed. And this is where we can look at custom views. These are my overdue open and on hold tickets, I guess we'd call it. Status is open, status is on hold. I'm going to change these criteria in a second. And where are we? Is overdue is true. And we're going to say in our criteria 1 or 2 and 3. You can say this is visible to all agents. And you now see that this now, oh, whoops, this is mine. So we have owner, the ticket owner is Debbie Money. We'll just share it to only me. This now is a custom view that I've created for myself that shows me the stuff that is mine. That shows me kind of exactly what I want. Only shows me the overdue stuff, shows me both open and on hold, and it only shows me my stuff. So each of your agents can create their own little workflows like this. And then I really like to star these views. And then that starred view is just there. I will unstar all tickets. And now when I log in, I just know that this is my default view. This is where I work from. It's important to build these types of workflows for your agents so they can just log in, get their work done, and get customers responded to. Now we're going to talk about ticket and kind of module and field customization. Again, if you've taken our CRM courses, a lot of this should register and be pretty straightforward. This is way less important than it is in the CRM. Because in my experience in Zoho Desk, people pretty much only work in the tickets module. Most companies spend the most time in the tickets module. So most of the other modules don't matter that much, at least for those that are getting started. And then in a lot of ways, ticket fields don't come up that often, right? A lot of these fields don't, again, like a CRM module, you can add custom fields, but being realistic, most tickets are coming in via, say, email or phone calls. They won't have those custom fields filled out. The only data that matters is subject line, who it's from, and what the body of the email is, or what the body of the web form is, or things like that. So I wouldn't worry yourself too much with these layouts, because again, in most cases, tickets are just subject line, who it came from, and the body of the ticket. For more advanced desk users, some of this stuff becomes more pertinent. Also, later in this course, we're going to briefly talk about blueprints. And so you'll be able to understand within a blueprint, a lot of this stuff comes to matter a lot more. But for the purposes of most initial users and setups of a simple Zoho Desk instance, you don't need to touch any of these fields most often. Next, we're going to talk about integration, and there are several integrations that can happen from Zoho Desk. The most important one by far is Zoho CRM, so we're going to spend time talking about that. Settings, Marketplace, and go to Zoho. You'll see Zoho CRM. Again, there are integrations to other platforms. I don't know. I mean, Click can be useful. I guess some of these books ones can make sense, like viewing subscription details, creating invoices and estimates and stuff. I could see that being valuable for the right company. You have to be really set up on Zoho and things kind of all robust and hooked together. CRM is the one that is generally the most straightforward to build and is often the most important. So let's briefly talk about it. I wouldn't worry about the products sync. Again, this is a basic course, so worry more about accounts and contacts. Then we'll click configure here. Now, there's a few thoughts here. The concept of how you should understand this working is that there will be a two-way sync between the CRM and Desk. What that means is that Desk tickets will show up associated to contacts and accounts in Zoho CRM, and you'll be able to see who is filing tickets. So that's good. Helps your salespeople and others see what's going on in Desk. Aggregates all your information in your CRM. In Desk, contacts will also be created in your contacts module of the CRM. And then CRM contacts will be synced to Desk, which is really important because if a customer sends you an email, you will be able to see, hey, it isn't just some random email, like it's associated to this contact record and this account record. You can actually click into the CRM record from Desk. It's really, really nice, right? So there's absolutely value in setting this integration up. I won't even spend much time doing this at all. There's field mapping that's available. Realistically, you can handle this if you even want to map those fields together. Again, we're syncing the accounts module and the contacts module between the two. And then I'll just go ahead and click start sync. You'll see there's some other preferences that you can think about. There's related lists in the CRM that will show desk tickets. Like there's a lot of this stuff, but all you really need to think about is you're going to have desk tickets show up in CRM. People that send you emails through Zoho Desk will be created as contacts in your CRM. And I think most importantly, your contact database from the CRM will push through to desk, meaning that new tickets from contacts that exist in CRM will be associated to that contact in desk, which lets you do a better job of tracking what everyone's up to, what all your customers are up to, what they're saying. You can see some of these screenshots, set it up, start it, see where you get. Do you remember how I told you that this manual assignment process would get really tedious and that it's not scalable and that we would automate it? Let's talk about automating it. Assignment rules are fairly straightforward in Zoho Desk and they're pretty excellent. So let's go create a new assignment rule. The concept of an assignment rule should be pretty straightforward to you, right? All you are doing is saying new ticket gets created. If there's some sort of criteria for that ticket, assign it to this person. If it's not that criteria, assign it to this person. You're making it so that no one has to manually go through and assign each ticket, that it automatically comes in and it fills up. Again, think of this in terms of custom views, right? It will automatically fill up this custom view as your customers reach out. And then your support people's job is to then dump out this support ticket view, and then it'll fill back up again and back and forth, right? So that's the vision of assignment rules. We're going to talk first about direct assignment and then about round robin. Direct assignment is, again, fairly straightforward. Here you would say, let's do as an example, WordPress tickets. And we say, okay, if in the email of the ticket, it is notifications at wordpress.org, say it's a WordPress notification, you can say that those all need to go to Debbie Money. Boom. And then everything else will be unassigned. Under this world, only these tickets will be assigned to Debbie Money. Everything else will be unassigned. Then the second thing to think about is a round robin rule, because with a direct assignment rule, you have to essentially capture every single ticket that might come in your criteria and assign it to someone, which gets kind of ungainly. So direct assignment is a better fit often for more specific ticket types. Round robin is more where you say basic product support round robin, and you say, okay, I don't have any criteria. I'm just going to do round robin, and we're going to assign it to team one. And there you go. So it will go through, and I guess team one only has one member, but let's say it had multiple. It would, every time a new ticket is created. In this case, we didn't add any target or criteria. So every single ticket that is created at the company will go to team one and will bounce between the members of team one and team two. A better way maybe for you to see that is for me to add all agents, or for those purposes, show Debbie Money and Sergey Zalatovolis. What this is going to do, there's no criteria. Every new ticket that's created will be round robin to Debbie Money and Sergey, except if it fits the criteria for this direct assignment rule. One quick thing to understand, if a ticket that comes first is the one that is triggered first. So if they have, the assignment rule that is first and is first in order will be triggered first. So if there's overlapping criteria, it will trigger the first rule first. So if you create a lot of direct assignment rules, it's gonna go in order of those assignment rules. Hopefully this makes sense. We just covered a lot. A lot of what I just showed you covers the basics of setting up a Zoho Desk account. A lot of you should be able to get going just with what I showed you. In the next two lessons, I'm going to cover some of the most requested, more advanced topics, which are workflows, automations, and blueprints, and then customer portals. There are other things that Zoho Desk can do, so I want to quickly gloss over a few other settings that won't be included in later lessons, and then you can go and kind of do your own learning yourself. Zoho Desk has time tracking, where you can track the time that agents spend on tickets. You even can sync that to Zoho Books to be able to then bill for that time. Pretty cool. Zoho Books has skill tracking, where you can actually track like agent skill sets and then do round robin assignment rules based off what skills a ticket might require and then who has those skills. And you can get pretty complicated and cool. Remember, Zoho itself uses Zoho Desk for support. So they have some pretty cool features that they use internally that they've built into this product that are cool. SLAs are interesting. There's a concept of having different service level agreements with clients, assigning clients to those SLAs. And then when tickets come in from those contacts or accounts, it has basically a somewhat separate workflow according to that SLA. And then I'd be remiss, we are developers in Zoho at heart. We love Deluge dearly. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about custom functions and the Zoho Desk API. In our experience, the Zoho Desk API is very, very robust. There's a lot you can do. It's not that frustrating to build on. We've been able to integrate with other Zoho apps and from Creator and CRM, push tickets to Desk via API very easily. And then Zoho Desk also has its own inbuilt Deluge editor to allow you to trigger functions from Zoho Desk itself. A lot of this are things to consider and think about. There are even other features that I have glossed over here. If you have any specific questions, you know you can always reach out to the Workflow Academy. The next lessons, we will cover workflow rules, automation, and then blueprints and customer portals. So I'm excited to talk about those.